Even before the sun touches the snow-covered peaks, the most common sound in the Swiss Alps is not the wind or distant bells, it is silence. A deep silence, broken only by the slow steps of cattle and the creaking of the old wooden mountain houses. It is in this setting that the lives of herders begin every day, far from busy roads, cities, and the fast pace of the modern world. In villages hidden between narrow valleys and steep slopes, men and women maintain a way of life that has changed very little over centuries. The work is hard, repetitive, and deeply connected to nature. Here, time is not measured by clocks, but by daylight, weather, and the needs of the herd. In this video, you will follow the daily work of cattle herders in the Swiss Alps and discover what it is like to live and work in some of the most remote villages in Europe.
The villages where these herders live seem almost too small for the mountains that surround them. Built on steep slopes or at the bottom of narrow valleys, they remain isolated for much of the year. Some are accessible only by narrow, winding roads. Others depend on cable cars or paths that, in winter, simply disappear beneath the snow. In these places, every building serves a clear purpose. The stable is not an annex, it is the center of daily life. Living close to the cattle is not a choice, but a necessity. The smell of wood, hay, and animals is as much a part of the environment as the cold mountain air. Isolation shapes everything. Supplies are limited, services are scarce, and daily routines must be carefully planned. Even so, these villages continue to exist because the land offers something essential: rich natural pastures, clean water, and space for the cattle to move freely. Here, the landscape is not just a beautiful backdrop. It dictates the rhythm of work, the daily physical effort, and the very survival of those who chose or inherited this way of life.
A herder's day begins long before any sign of light appears on the horizon. While the village still sleeps and the cold of the early morning fills the valley, they are already awake. There are no sophisticated alarm clocks and no urban rush. The rhythm is set by the cattle, not by the clock. The first hours are spent checking the animals, making sure none wandered off during the night, and preparing everything for the journey to the pastures. In the morning silence, the sound of bells spreads across the slopes, helping locate the herd even when fog covers the landscape. The work demands constant attention. A single misstep on wet or steep terrain can lead to serious falls. That is why every movement is calculated. Every path has been walked dozens of times over the years. As the sun slowly begins to illuminate the Alpine peaks, the herders have already accumulated hours of physical labor. For them, this early start is not an occasional sacrifice. It is a daily routine, shaped by the weather, the season, and the responsibility of caring for dozens of animals in an environment as beautiful as it is unforgiving. Guiding cattle through the Swiss Alps is far from simple. The pastures lie on sloped terrain, cut by loose rocks, narrow trails, and areas where a moment of inattention can be fatal. The herder must know every curve of the mountain, every safe crossing point, and every place where danger tends to appear. The weather changes quickly. A clear sky can turn into rain or fog within minutes, reducing visibility and making the ground slippery. There is also the constant risk of animals straying or getting injured during the journey. None of this is improvised. The knowledge required to handle these conditions is passed down from generation to generation. Many herders learned the craft as children, following parents and grandparents along the same paths they walk today. More than physical strength, the work requires patience, focus, and experience. Every decision, the departure time, the chosen route, the moment to return, directly affects the safety of both the herd and the herder. In the mountains, small mistakes can have serious consequences. Summer is the most demanding time of year for cattle herders in the Swiss Alps.
It is during this season that the ascent to high-altitude pastures takes place, a traditional movement practiced for centuries. For weeks or even months, the animals remain in the mountains, far from the villages, feeding on fresh grass found only at higher elevations. For the herders, this means long days with almost no breaks. Work begins early and ends only when the light disappears behind the peaks. There are no weekends or days off. The weather may be milder, but summer storms arrive without warning, bringing heavy rain, hail, and sudden drops in temperature. Many herders live temporarily in isolated cabins with limited access to electricity or communication. Everything revolves around the herd: feeding, movement, protection from accidents, and constant observation of the environment. Despite the extreme effort, summer is also seen as essential. It ensured the health of the animals, the quality of the milk, and the continuation of a way of life that depends directly on these mountains. Much of the herders' work in the Swiss Alps is directly tied to milk production and artisanal dairy products. What may seem simple at first glance requires a precise and constant routine. Milking happens daily, often in improvised mountain settings, far from the modern facilities found on industrial farms. Fresh milk must be processed quickly. Traditional cheeses are made using age-old methods, with little mechanization and a great deal of hands-on experience. Every stage, from heating to aging, depends on the herder's trained eye, recognizing the right signs of texture, aroma, and consistency. The cattle's diet directly affects the quality of the final product. Alpine pastures, rich in natural herbs, give the milk unique characteristics that are difficult to reproduce elsewhere. This is why these cheeses are so highly valued, even though they are produced on a small scale. This work is more than an economic activity. It carries cultural identity and historical continuity. By maintaining these practices, herders preserve not only a product, but a tradition that connects village life to the land where it exists.
Living and working in remote Swiss alpine villages means dealing daily with isolation. For much of the year, contact with the outside world is limited. Distances are long, the weather complicates travel, and the demanding routine leaves little room for visits or conventional leisure. For outsiders, the silence can feel heavy. For herders, it becomes part of everyday life. In this environment, strong community bonds form. Everyone knows each other, and everyone depends on one another. In emergencies, help comes first from neighbors, not from distant services. Social life unfolds in small gatherings, local festivals, and seasonal traditions tied to the cattle cycle. There is no anonymity, but there is trust. Each person has a clear role within the community. This way of life requires emotional balance. Loneliness can weigh heavily, especially during long periods in the mountains. Even so, many herders say that isolation also brings clarity, focus, and a deep connection to the surrounding environment, something increasingly rare in the modern world. Despite their cultural and economic importance, the lives of herders in the Swiss Alps face growing challenges. Many of these villages are aging. Young people, drawn to opportunities in cities, rarely choose to continue the hard and uncertain work of the mountains. Modernization has brought improvements, but also pressure. Higher costs, legal requirements, competition from industrial production, and climate change make the work even more complex. Less predictable winters and more extreme summers directly affect pastures and herd safety. Some communities try to adapt by combining tradition with rural tourism or direct sales of artisanal products. Others resist change, maintaining practices almost unchanged, even while knowing the future is uncertain. What is at stake is not just a profession, but centuries of accumulated knowledge. Every familiar trail, every herding technique, and every local tradition risks disappearing quietly. The continuation of this way of life depends on difficult choices, both individual and collective, that will determine whether these villages remain alive or become mere memories among the mountains. The lives of cattle herders in the Swiss Alps are built on constant effort, patience, and a direct relationship with nature. In an increasingly fast-paced world, this way of life follows a different rhythm, slower, more physical, and deeply connected to the land. Nothing here is automatic or easy. Every day demands attention, endurance, and responsibility. These remote villages do not survive by chance. They exist because people continue to choose, or accept, living where the work is hard, but the purpose is clear. Caring for the cattle, respecting the mountains, and maintaining traditions passed down through generations is not just a job, it is a way of seeing the world. By getting to know this routine, it becomes easier to understand the true cost behind Alpine products and the value of ways of life that still endure beyond major urban centers. If you enjoy discovering how people live in remote and little-known places, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and comment on which village or region you'd like to see in the next video. Your support helps keep these stories alive.